What is up, y'all? I hope you're doing well. We're here for our midweek tarot and oracle reading, looking deeper into our process, working with our spiritual lessons for the week. And we're using the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck for our oracle, and we are clarifying with the Mystical Moments Tarot, which I love the artwork. There's so many kismet synchronicities in like the choice of how they, chose to symbolize things, which I love. And I love all of Kim Cran's decks. So I'm really nerding out on the decks right now recently. But yeah, I hope you guys are liking them too. So from the Alchemy deck, looking deeper into how we're approaching the work this week, what are we working with? What's our process? What should we be taking away with how we're approaching this? And so for starters, we got lightning or leucosis, followed by magnum opus or the great work, followed by calcinatio or calcification, and then we got separatio or separation. And it's funny, I had gotten about 5 minutes into this video and realized that I wasn't recording a minute ago, so I had to start over, which may be good. But I did want to point out that before I really set my intention for this reading and shuffled, when I was just kind of like had picked up the deck and kind of was like mindlessly playing with them while I was watching something else, this separation card came out, but it came out with Soulless Splendor, which we've had Soulless Splendor a couple of times over the last few weeks, several times actually since I got this deck. And that card talks about giving like the sun, without condition, without expectation of receiving or results or immediate return or payback or, interest received. It's about putting in the effort regardless of the result. And that is part of creation phase 3. It's like doubling down and giving outside of your comfort zone, past the point of when you're tired, past the point of when it makes sense, because you know that you are led by a deeper calling to do so, and you have that certainty. And so you give because it's, that the creator is there having you do that, and you're giving to the creator and not so that you're getting something in return. You're being a channel for the light at that point, and you're learning to share instead of receive for the self alone. So that card talks about, being generous of spirit and giving and being in unconditional love and doing something like giving in that way, investing because of the long-term value and the authenticity of the depth of the value and the sacredness of that unconditional love. But ultimately, because there is some kind of sustaining long-term value that is awaiting if we can push past that need for instant gratification or instant guarantee. So there's something valuable about this point in the process we're in where our manifestation might be withheld from us right now. Like, I think it's circling the runway, but like the plane just can't land because like the gate's not quite open. So it's like learning to embrace this period of not having the fulfillment of the manifestation yet, because it adds to the building of the vessel, so that when the union with the thing does happen, you really appreciate it, and you've really invested, and you've prepared to yourself to be able to handle and sustain that thing, whether it be a job or building a company or launching a product or writing a book. Maybe you haven't fully gleaned the lessons yet. It could be beginning a relationship. It could be twin flame journey, right? When you're in separation, it can be very painful. But learning to appreciate the value of that, because doing the healing work and learning interdependence and overcoming codependency and enmeshment within the separation creates for healthier future opportunities to come into union and be sustainable, right? So that to me just like really connects with that solstice splendor that it came out with earlier. So then, because I wasn't paying attention and I didn't, I wasn't focused, I decided to throw this back in and that one back into the deck and reshuffle, and it still came out. And the clarifying card underneath it was very similar message. So leucosis, or lightning, came out with the Queen of Cups, which I love the imagery and the colors together today. It's just gorgeous. Underneath the magnum opus, or the great work, was Knight of Wands. Underneath calcification, we got Two of Swords. And underneath separation, we've got Four of Wands. And then the last card to tie it all up was the Eight of Cups. So here is the thing. So lightning, or leucosis, talks about a point in the work, in the transformation, where it's beginning to become evident. Healing is happening. Transformation is taking shape, doing its thing. And there's, real healing going on. And so it feels like there's a lightening up. And we just need to be sure that we don't jump ahead of ourselves and take for granted that everything is all just like finished and set into place and the journey is over and we've arrived. That is when we take the fulfillment of the manifestation for granted. And that is when we lose the manifestation. Even if it comes in, it's like if we don't continue to appreciate, if we don't continue to earn, the company will go bust, right? So we can't take for granted the fulfillment. And we can't. So like when we get into creation phase 3, which is like that final push before creation phase 4. Creation phase 4 is when we receive the fulfillment of the manifestation. The manifestation comes and it's fulfilling. And so when we are in creation phase 3, that is when we have to double down and push outside of our comfort zone and really like give our all, and even beyond what we're like, beyond tiredness, beyond what we're comfortable with, beyond what we think is like sensible because of the guaranteed certainty of return. This is when we give, because we can't not give, because there's a driving sense of divine purpose within whatever it is that we're being called to do, and we can't give up. And even if nothing ever pays off, it's like just doing the thing, just knowing that you tried. It's like you're doing it for the creator. It's like at that point, you're not doing it even for yourself anymore. You're a real channel. You're a real channel of the light, and you're really sharing, because at that point, you're just like, I just have to do, like, I can't, it doesn't even matter if it pays off. I don't care if I fail, but I have to do this for creator, for my purpose. There is a purpose in this for me. So it's like, you think, like, the danger of this card is like you think the work is over, and so then you kind of rest on your laurels, and then like everything just sort of like all your progress just sort of falls apart. So this is like a sabotage, like this is like a tactic of sabotage from the opponent, from the adversary, right? It's like making you feel like you've arrived, like the work is done, like, oh, I'm feeling good, like everything's going good right now, like I don't need to continue my prayer practice, I don't need to continue practicing restriction or evaluating myself or pushing myself to grow, everything's all good, it's fine. And so then we disconnect from the light, and then that's when the chaos starts again. So Yes. And so this coming up with the Queen of Cups, it's like, it warns us of staying on our toes and continuing to work on healing our enmeshment and our codependency, because we're all on a spectrum of enmeshment and codependency, and we're just all looking for balance. And so it's like this continued effort to heal beyond that, but also to keep a tender, open heart and stay compassionate and stay nurturing and stay caring through this. But also be don't be too open with boundaries. Maintain those with tender authenticity and, honesty. So I'm going to actually read, see if there's anything that I want to say. So let's see. Lightning, leucosis. I'm just going to read this from the book. Perfectionism, facade, hesitation. Hesitation is coming up in this reading too, and it has been as a theme recently. And so I feel like we're sort of oscillating in this in our situations, because like there may be some sort of self-doubt or second guessing or like kind of a dualism to things that are unfolding and happening right now. I'm like so unhappy with my hair because I had a table out on the patio. It's a covered patio, but it's like a rainy night. So like the humidity, instead of making my hair more curly, it just like makes me wilt. Like I'm sitting here getting distracted by my hair. Okay, so perfectionism. Perfectionism, facade, hesitation. The stage of leucosis is a complex topic in alchemy. On the one hand, it represents purification of the materials. On the other hand, it's a phase in which the alchemist may mistake the work as complete. On the surface, everything seems perfect, pristine, well thought through, and quite complete. In actuality, the alchemist has been tricked by their own facade of perfection. Their work has hardly begun. Righteousness and fear are the great errors of leucosis. So righteousness and fear. So don't also avoid something or be hesitant to jump into something because you fear like making a mistake, or you fear, it all blowing up in your face either. It's like, to be the alchemist in the lab, you have to be willing to take risks and experiment, right? Same with, life. It's like everything that's going to stretch our soul and transcend us beyond our comfort zone is going to give us some fear, some hesitancy, because it's going to be intimidating. Okay. This card arrives to remind us to get our hands dirty. No one is separate from or above anyone else. Rather, every alchemist is a kid in the laboratory, tinkering away with the elements of their life. No more fretting over your next move, fearing how others will perceive you. It's time to crack open, become who you are. The world needs your true colors. So remember on Monday, our alchemy message, the anchor message that had our archetypes and the lessons. It was all about keeping promises to ourselves, being true to ourselves, being true to our authentic self. And so, yes, so that has to do with like healing enmeshment, but also not holding yourself back completely and not being too afraid so afraid that you're going to make a mistake that you don't do anything at all. It's like life is messy and we got to get in there and get in the mess. And, me and my friend Tracy were talking today just about this reading. I didn't get it to put it on Instagram because it was like all a jumbled mess in my head. And it was great because we got to talk it out, because it had to do with like the things that we had been processing, but we both realized that Lionsgate was yesterday. And even though we were reminded of it, we still got lost in the day and forgot we were in the middle of Lionsgate. But then at the end of the day, we were like, look back and we were still like, oh, we still did like courageous things. And we still tried to like, put ourselves out there and express our big vision and be proud and loyal and faithful and courageous and devoted to our cause and like double down and be, committed to like our dreams. But yeah, it was funny because when we were talking about, just the energy of this reading and today and yesterday in Lionsgate, it's like generally right now, it's just like, there's so much going on inside of ourselves. It's like, we're always on this journey really it's all about learning to love ourselves first. And that's the secret to overcoming enmeshment and codependency. It's like we have to stop looking outside of ourselves for a job to validate us or a relationship to validate us, right? How many times do we not even realize that we don't even think that we're worthy of whatever? And like if we don't have a relationship, then we consider ourselves like not having like being less than or not having it all or being missing something. Or like if we don't have the perfect career or a dream job or something, it's like we feel like we're lacking in some way. And like we're so hard on ourselves. And it's like the journey is to realize that nothing outside of ourselves will ever validate us, because even if we get that job or the partner or whatever, we'll still have that empty void inside. And it's up to us to learn that fulfillment, that validation can only come from going within the self and finding it with source, with creator, and with that sovereignty within. Like it's me and creator, and that's where the validation comes from. And anything beyond that is nice and it's extra and I appreciate and I can receive, but I don't need, because I get my validation from the creator. And that means that you're not pressured to go and abandon yourself or go against yourself anymore. And those were things that we were talking about, for the week. It's like healing those self-abandonment wounds. So it's sort of like this like big clusterfuck of all these feelings inside. It's like, I feel like torn in all these different directions. We've got this like Two of Swords energy again. And then there was something else that just felt like a little bit like, I think the Two of Swords energy had come up in maybe other expressions over the last, few days. But being, just sort of like having this like kind of inner conflict or being pulled in two directions, or just like kind of a dualistic quality to the moment. It's like, on the one hand, you can see things really evolving and taking off. But on the other, it's like you're so frustrated because it's like you're still in the process and you're still duking it out. And, theater and script writing and story paradigm has really been standing out to me lately about life. Really it's all about what's happening in Act 2. We are infatuated with Act 1 when everything's so exciting and new and fresh, and we get into Act 2 and we're obsessed about getting to the finish line. What's in Act 3? We want the happy ending. But most of life is all about Act 2. We're always circling back to Act 2. That's the confrontation. That's where the process happens. That's where the characters go on the journey. Nothing is resolved yet, but that's where the whole story takes place. And we're always trying to get past that. So it's about not skipping steps, but really embracing the work. Because no matter what you get, that manifestation will only stay in a state of fulfillment. You can only stay in creation phase 4 if you actively stay in creation phase 3, which is continuing to give, continuing to make an effort. It's like continuing to put that passion in your business, continuing to put the passion in your relationship, right? If you have a romantic relationship, it takes constant, continuous effort to maintain that. It's like working out or gardening. There's always going to be, you're going to atrophy. Weeds will grow. So you always have to be working on a relationship, right? The relationship itself, your own relationship with yourself, your communication, your attraction, your intimacy, all of those things are different. Love languages, right? Keeping things fun and alive, working on the friendship, making sure that you have things to talk about and that you laugh with each other and all of that stuff. There's constant ways that you make an effort in your relationship, maintaining your attractiveness to one another. And it's like it never ends. And so that's just one example of how you have to stay in creation phase 3 and keep sharing. Solstice splendor, unconditional sharing, right? In order to maintain that radiant, splendor. So be tender, be understanding, and you may be the Queen of Cups in your situation. Like the Queen of Cups sometimes is guilty of overgiving and depleting themselves. But also what's true about the Queen of Cups is that people admire them and they're drawn to their warmth and they come to them for their insight. They're very empathic. They're very insightful. They're very intuitive. They're very understanding. And they have a lot of like emotional like depth and wisdom. So they're nurturing, they care for others and people feel cared for by them. But that is another reason why the Queen of Cups has to work on those boundaries, because they feel for people and they give in to their feelings are so strong. They're so emotionally driven and they're waters, they're mutable. So it's harder to have like strong, like rigid boundaries because they're like, oh, I feel, the emotions, So, maybe just get a little bit grounded and a little sturdier in your boundaries right now and continue to do the work of overcoming and growing past and transcending that tendency of emotional enmeshment. That way, whatever's coming down the line, it can be a healthy, interdependent relationship. And sometimes this spills over. It's not just about romantic relationships. It can be friendships. It can be parent-children relationships. It can be business relationships, work relationships. It's not limited to specifically romantic relationships. The great work is always like unfolding. And so the great work with the Knight of Wands, like I love the depiction of the Knight of Wands jumping through hoops, because the Knight of Wands is passionate, excited, adventurous, willing to get in there, like, and give the effort, right? That desire is stoked and the energy is still fresh and strong and young and youthful. And so I think this is about getting a fire under our ass to get through that second leg. It's like, hey, the work's not over. And so don't get lax now. This is a great work that's the work of a lifetime. And so tap into that passion, that desire, that inner why. Why do we want to do any of these things to begin with, right? When you're trying to decide what direction to go in, think about the core reason of what you really like, what you want to build and why you want to build it. What's your real dream? What's the ultimate goal? That way you're not putting the cart before the horse. I do want to, and this also it's like stay focused, because the downside of the Knight of Wands can be a bit of like getting ahead of themselves or rushing in and skipping steps, or skipping over some details because of excitement or passion. It can be a little bit of like a shiny object syndrome too. So it's like, hey, stay focused. Don't rest on your laurels, right? Tighten up, focus. Preparation needs to be done. There's work to be done, and things need your attention and devotion. Let's read the great work. I'm feeling it. Magnum opus, the great work, attention, devotion, vocation. The magnum opus shimmers in the distance, promising purpose, achievement, and understanding. When will we get there? When will our efforts be recognized? Amidst pressure and expectations, we come to realize each alchemist's life is an accumulation of moments in which attention is placed on a subject within the laboratory. So think about it. It's like we're sitting there rushing through, like, when is this going to yield results? When is it going to show, when my work is done? Like, when am I going to get the big payoff? And it's like the work is done every day in the lab. It's the practice. Don't skip. Don't miss the laboratory, right? Because you're not present for the fact that the laboratory is where all the value is. It's an accumulation. The alchemist's life is an accumulation of moments in which attention is placed upon the subject within the laboratory. That's Act 2. It's an accumulation of these moments. That's all life is, right? So be present for them. Stop wishing for the next phase. Enjoy the one you're in, because nothing's going to last forever. Don't obsess over the last phase and miss the one that you're in now. Amidst pressure and expectations, we come to realize each alchemist's life is an accumulation of moments in which attention is placed upon a subject within the laboratory. The artist draws a single line. The poet scribes a single word. The rose forms a single leaf. The magnum opus card reminds us that the alchemical garden grows from seeds tended to by devoted hands, and the grace of the sun, water, and earth. You cannot force the great work. You cannot claim it or complete it. This card arrives to whisper words of encouragement. You are in the right place. The most important place for you. This is the alchemical garden. Tend to the youngest growth. Be delicate and precise. Tend to the youngest growth. Be delicate and precise. So what is new? What is being birthed into your life right now that's brand new, that's changing, that's being grown from this new seed level consciousness, right? That's not based on all the old programming, the old life that's just like continuing to circle around. It's like we're going in a new direction. So what are we tending to that's in alignment with our values, that is in alignment with our desire, but that's fresh growth, that's new, it's like new possibility, right? Take a note if this card appears alongside the gold sun, or conjunction card. If so, a psychic shift has occurred that's big and beautiful, and celebration is in the midst. I feel like that's kind of connected to Soulless Splendor because it is a sun card. It's not the sun card, but I do think that this is all about like this awakening of new consciousness and things that are growing from that seed level of consciousness that have the possibility to be immensely beautiful. And I mean, I love, like, the line that stood out to me most in this card was that this card arrives to whisper words of encouragement that you are in the right place, the most important place. So whatever it is that's going on right now, just know it's like you're on the right track. You're in the right place. If they don't look like what you want them to look like right now, just know that things may not be as they appear. Appearances could be deceiving. So, and that could mean in a good way as well. So, just have faith and try to be strong and patient, and just know good things are happening, and don't get discouraged. Because the lesson that I learned in my Kabbalah class today, it was for preparation for Rosh Hashanah coming up, was that the opponent, the male opponent, will tempt us into a mess up. And when we are reactive and when we mess up, sometimes that's part of the plot. Sometimes that's all part of the lesson. And the fact that you think you messed up was the mess up was always going to happen. The real way to determine whether or not like that light, see the scales back there? Like when we go through these challenges and we pass them, it's like our density gets alchemized into the light, and it releases and reveals these sparks of light that magnify light and blessing in your life. But if you make a mistake and you're like, you know what? I regret this. I'm human. I'm going to learn from it though. I'm going to let it grow me. I know that the Creator had a purpose in this, and I'm going to hopefully allow it to reveal more light. But I have remorse, and I'm really taking something away from the lesson. I'm going to let it transform me for the better. Then it's like you get all of these sparks of light revealed, and it creates like power and blessing within you and favor. But the thing is, if you make the mistake and you're really hard on yourself and you like fall into despair and you lose hope, or like you beat yourself up and you go into like a total shame down spiral, it's like all the light that you had been working on and the momentum, it like gets sucked, the opponent wins it, essentially. Like in the video game of spirituality, the adversary gets those coins back. If the female Satan, which is the shame, guilt, like self-loathing, like all of those sad vibes, like if that comes in and is successful to make you feel despair, hopeless, and give up, and like shame and guilt, that's when the opponent wins that energy. That's when you lose those sparks of light, or the side of the dark takes it over. And then you have to go through a process of judgment and purification and cleansing to get that back on your, in the column of the light again. Okay, so calcification. Calcification is here with Two of Swords. The Two of Swords here, I feel, is representing that stalemate where the energy is just kind of like in a state of separation right now from the fulfillment of the desire. And that's because there's something going on at a mental level and a thought level, because the swords are thoughts, ideas, communication. It's like something is going on that's creating like an inner conflict. It's like, yes, I want this thing, but it's not quite the right time yet. Things aren't ripe. Or maybe you have an inner conflict, or an inner conflicting desire. It's like maybe you want something, but it also scares you so much that you're like almost like you can't face the fear to have the experience. The timidity, the hesitancy, right? That's what's keeping, from moving forward. So it's causing things to be in a stalemate. Well, calcification is about the fire that transforms, right? Once again, it's like we've got this fire under our ass to overcome this indecision. That's what, like, the healing that like Libra has to have is overcoming indecisiveness, or the inability to clearly like judge what's good and what's bad, like what's going to be a good profitable decision here, what's going to be a bad decision, because they can kind of see both sides. Sometimes it's very hard for Libra to make a decision. Rosh Hashanah is all about the fact that all the souls of mankind were born during Libra season because they were all contained within Adam and Eve. They were created during Libra season. So our original souls are all Libras. And one of the things that's prominent right now is maybe like having inner conflict with oneself, or indecision, or like energies kind of standing at a stalemate because you're not willing to go all in on a decision, right? Maybe you're being conditional about it. Maybe you're like, well, I'd want to do this, but only if it's like this, kind of thing. Or maybe your desire for something is exactly equal with your fear and like your insecurity about it. And so it's like there's not enough love in the situation to tip the scale to the side of like confidence and optimism that it's going to work out. So the fear is kind of keeping you in a limbo, right? But some kind of indecisiveness is keeping things in a stalemate for the moment. So let's read calcification. heat, fire, desire. Calcionado is the great alchemical operation of fire. It occurs when there's enough heat in the vessel to transform the nature of that which is solid or fixed. How does calcinatio begin? With a tiny glimmer, an urge, a desire that builds into a robust flame. On a psychic level, this stage may be an uprising of emotion that has been repressed or dismissed. It wants something big to change, to be brought to the light and purified. Perhaps a flawed ideology, institution, or outlook. Frustration and anger are a wondrous, so something needs to be changed. Perhaps it's a flawed ideology or an institution or an outlook. I think it's about the things within us that are coming up for transformation right now, and maintaining the desire to continue to put the work in, to put the effort in, to do the work on the self, but also to continue to have the fire of desire to make your manifestations come true, to make your dreams come true, to make your goals come true. You know, the only thing that like drives our manifestation is the desire in our heart. That's what gives us the drive to keep going, and that's what gives us the magnetism. So we have to keep that desire stoked. Frustration and anger are wondrous change makers. If their heat is channeled with space, time, and awareness. The transformation that occurs from calcinado is rarely harmonious. It requires commitment. The transformation that occurs from calcinado is rarely harmonious. It requires commitment and willingness to sit through discomfort as old patterns fall away into the ashes. The flame initiates sacred change, and eventually the phoenix rises. So last week, we had a lot of themes coming up about harmony and harmonizing. And so it may not be easy to find harmony right now. And it may mean that in order to maintain a sense of harmony, you have to accept the discomfort and push through it. And so, yeah, there's something though right now that's happening where we need to stick it out, stick out the process, keep going, keep transforming, keep the desire alive. Any other notes? The divine flame resides within, and it is yours to tend to. That said, doing so patiently and with support will lead to change that is holy rather than hasty. So yes, not cutting corners, not skipping steps. And then separation. So I'm just going to read this card because it came up with the Four of Wands. And so Four of Wands, there's like some readers read twin flame because of the 1111, because of the four wands. This is also a card about harmony and prosperity and abundance and tranquility and a time of serenity and joy. It's many times the marriage card. And so it feels like that the separation right now that is occurring from the fulfillment of the manifestation is happening for the sake of long-term fulfillment or long-term value. But ultimately it will result in something that is harmonious and joyous and peaceful. This is for the highest good, essentially. So I don't think that, it's like it's never a fun thing to go through, especially if, but at the same time, it will pay off later. I know that like when me and my last serious relationship broke up, I was not thrilled about it, even though it's like deep down I knew it needed to happen. But in the end, after the initial pain was gone and I got to the other side of the worst part of it, I could see the value in it, and I fully embraced it, and I was not regretful at all. So yeah, if there's a way to embrace what's happening now, knowing that ultimately it will lead to something far more fulfilling. Okay, I'm gonna read this. Differentiation, divide, to cut away. Separatio is the great alchemical operation of the sword. It occurs when substances are pulled apart for their higher good, either willingly or unwillingly. The fissure may take place suddenly with a swift blow of the axe, or slowly over time with a dull blade. No matter how separatio occurs, it will likely be a painful process for all involved. Images of swords and knives, battles, rebellion, breakups, divorce, the atom splitting are expressions of separatio. The good news is that the separation prepares the individual for a more conscious union down the line. It releases the stagnant energy and allows the parts to see themselves as individuals. This stage is a prerequisite for conjunctio, or union, love. Through the pain of separatio, we come to accept and love ourselves as we truly are, and in turn, we love the world. So we come to learn and accept ourselves as we truly are, and we learn to love the world. Is there anything that does not separate? It's likely that there's been a hot mess in the laboratory for a while. Once you're past the initial blow, which could take a long time, you'll be singing separation's praises. Oh, just like I was talking about with my ex-boyfriend. Language is also a way that separation is expressed through labels, titles, and definitions. Notice where your word choices are inclusive and exclusive, and adjust as necessary. Interesting. Yeah, and so ultimately, we have the Eight of Cups here, which is moving in a direction that's going to give you deeper fulfillment and a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. This is like going on the spiritual path toward your divine purpose. It's moving toward ultimate fulfillment, or moving, past the separation. It's like maybe there is something that you're separating from completely. And it's like you're doing that. You're leaving behind an old situation, or an old career, or an old mindset or way of thinking, or an old relationship, to go forward in a new direction, or to look, to go on a journey of self-discovery, for deeper, growth and, and a deeper sense of fulfillment down the line. Deeper connection to your soul purpose, deeper connection to divine, to your higher power. So ultimately, we're going in a direction of fulfillment and of divine purpose. And there's definitely been divine timing has been at play. But whatever is happening right now, be of good comfort, and just know that I think that things are going in a really great direction. Solstice splendor has come up every week for us. So beautiful things are coming into being. We just have to trust. I know we went long tonight. Sorry about that. Usually if I don't write out our reading ahead of time, it takes me longer to talk about it because I hadn't really concised things down. But I will see y'all tomorrow for our Oracle romance reading for the week. Ciao.